reason for the heavens and the earth. I know there's a reason for the created births.
Welcome to the Blue Halo Podcast, a place where words carry weight, meaning runs deep, and stories help us better understand who we are and what we stand for. Today's episode is a little different, and it's very intentional. We are slowing things down today to examine 4 pieces of writing that many of us have heard, maybe even recited or felt long before we ever fully understood them. These aren't just words on a page or words in a song. They're reflections of belief and of sacrifice, and they're reflections of struggle with purpose. Today, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. It's a short passage, but it's so familiar, at least to most of us, that it can roll off the tongue without a second thought. But behind those few lines are powerful ideas about unity and about responsibility and about the cost of freedom. In this episode, we'll unpack what it truly means to pledge, not just to a flag, but to the principles it represents. Next, we'll walk through the poem Footprints in the Sand, a piece that has comforted millions of people during low moments of loss and of doubt, and sometimes when we're simply too exhausted to move on. It's a reminder that faith often carries us most when we feel the weakest, even when we don't realize it at the time. After that, we'll revisit a wonderful tribute made by Paul Harvey called The Policeman. It's truly timeless, and it pulls back the curtain on the unseen sacrifices of those who serve. It's raw and honest and unapologetic in showing the humanity and quiet courage behind the badge. And finally, we'll close with the meaning and inspiration behind the song The Reason by yours truly. I wrote the lyrics. Can't sing worth a darn, but it's been the theme music for this show for the past couple of years. So, 4 pieces of writing, 4 different voices. One shared theme though: commitment. Commitment to country, commitment to service, and commitment to God and from God. So please, join me as we break all these words wide open and explore their deeper meaning. I'm going to begin the podcast by sharing with you an oldie but a goodie. It's from Red Skelton, the actor, the comedian, and certainly an American patriot. In 1969, Mr. Skelton hosted a variety show called The Red Skelton Hour. And what I'm about to share with you was a segment from that show. It's from a long time ago, but the words still ring true. Here it is. When I was a small boy in Vincennes, Indiana, I heard, I think, one of the most outstanding speeches I ever heard in my life. I think it compares with the Sermon on the Mount, Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, and Socrates' speech to the students. We had just finished reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, and he, Mr. Laswell, the principal of Vincennes High School, called us together, and he says, "Boys and girls, I have been listening to you recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems that it has become monotonous to you. Or could it be you just don't understand the meaning of each word? If I may, I would like to recite the pledge and give you a definition for each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion. To the flag, our standard, old glory, a symbol of courage, and wherever she waves, there is respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts, freedom is everybody's job. Of the united. That means we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided by imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common cause, and that's love of country, of America. And to the republic, a sovereign state in which power is invested into the representatives chosen by the people to govern. And the government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people. for which it stands, one nation, meaning so blessed by God. Indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power for one to live his own life without fears, threats, or any sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle and qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all. For all. That means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Now, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance. Under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said, that is a prayer, and that it be eliminated from our schools too? The phrase, under God, was added to the Pledge of Allegiance in 1954 at the request of President Eisenhower. I, for one, am glad those words were added. So I hope you like that segment. The pledge is not something we should take lightly. Many, many people fought and died for us to have the freedoms we have. We all need to earn those freedoms with our actions.
Communicating with your children isn't always easy, especially on an emotional level. Until now, Pillow Thoughts is a journal approach of communicating between an adult and a child. So if you've ever had trouble communicating with your child, know that you are not alone. Many parents have the same concern, and there is a solution. Pillow Thoughts. Maybe you want to express to them just how special they are, or maybe they would like to express themselves to you. Let Pillow Thoughts provide the means of communication. Just place the Pillow Thoughts journal under their pillow when you have something to share with them, and they will do the same. It's a loving, private way to communicate with your children that takes away any pressure and stress, for the both of you. To learn more, go to www.pillow-thoughts.com. Don't wait. Writing is good therapy, and it just might make your relationship with your child stronger than ever. Go to www.pillow-thoughts.com and learn how you can get your copy today. Don't miss those special thoughts you and your children can share together. Pillow Thoughts says, I love you.
There are very few poems, folks, that almost everyone recognizes, even if they don't know the author or the year it was written or even the exact wording, but they know the image. A beach, a shoreline stretching endlessly, 2 sets of footprints, and then one. I'm talking about Footprints in the Sand. This poem has been printed on bookmarks, framed on walls, shared at funerals, whispered in hospital rooms, and mailed in handwritten letters to people who felt like they were barely holding on. Some people love it. Some people think it's too simple. Some people have rolled their eyes at it until the day they suddenly needed it, and that's what makes it powerful. Today, we're not just reading Footprints in the Sand. We're slowing it down. We're sitting with it. We're asking what it means when life hurts, when faith wavers, and when God feels strangely silent. Because whether you believe deeply, or maybe you believe cautiously, or maybe you aren't sure what you believe at all, this poem asks a question we all ask eventually. Where were you when I needed you most? Now, before we unpack it, let's briefly recall the poem itself. A person dreams they are walking along the beach with God. Scenes from their life flash across the sky. For every scene, there are 2 sets of footprints, one belonging to them, one belonging to God, except for the hardest moments. During times of pain, sorrow, failure, or fear, there is only one set of footprints. The dreamer questions God. Why, when I needed you most, did you leave me? And God responds, my precious child, I love you and would never leave you. During your times of trial and suffering, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. The poem's origins are debated. Several authors have been credited. But you know what? Its survival doesn't depend on attribution. It survives because it speaks to something deeply human. Not theological textbooks, not doctrines, but lived experience. So why this poem? Why not a longer one? Why not something more complex, more poetic, more literary? Because pain doesn't ask for complexity, does it? Pain doesn't ask for twists and turns and entanglement. No, when someone is grieving, they don't need clever metaphors. They need reassurance. When someone is exhausted, they don't need answers. They need presence. This poem works because it does something subtle but radical. It names disappointment with God without condemning it. The speaker doesn't pretend everything was fine. They don't spiritualize the suffering away. They say plainly, I noticed you weren't there. That honesty is what gives the poem comfort to us. Think about that. Now, let's sit with the hardest line in the poem. Why did you leave me when I needed you most? Wow, that's not a rebellious question. That's a wounded one. The person is deeply hurt and feels abandoned by God. Many people think faith means never asking that question. They're wrong. Scripture itself is full of those questions. Why have you forsaken me? Jesus said that. How long, O Lord? Where are you? All questions asked in the Bible. Faith doesn't mean silence. Please don't think that. Faith does mean, sometimes, continuing the conversation even when it hurts. The poem validates that moment. It validates it when belief collides head-on with reality. Here's why. Because the truth is, sometimes life doesn't feel like two sets of footprints, does it? Most of the time, it feels like you're dragging yourself forward in the dark. But here's where the poem turns. God's response reframes everything. God says, I didn't leave you. I carried you. That's comforting. I hope it is for you anyway. But it can also be confusing, right? Because if we were being carried, why did it still hurt? The poem doesn't say being carried means being spared pain. No, it doesn't. It says being carried means not being abandoned. This is important. Many of us assume God's presence should look like prevention. But the poem suggests it looks more like endurance. Not escape, support. Not absence of struggle, presence within it. Sometimes being carried looks like strength you didn't know you had. Sometimes it looks like surviving something you were sure would destroy you. And sometimes you don't realize you were being carried until years later, when you look back and wonder how you made it through it all. There's a reason Footprints in the Sand is read at funerals. Grief asks the same question the poem does. Why didn't you stop this? The poem doesn't answer that question, and that's part of its wisdom. Instead of explaining suffering, it promises companionship. In moments of loss, in whatever capacity, explanations sometimes feel hollow. Think about the losses you've suffered. How helpful was it when someone explained why things were the way they were? Did it take the loss away? But presence matters. Having the people you love with you, having God with you, that matters most. The poem quietly says, you weren't alone, you aren't alone, and you won't be alone, even now when things are the hardest. Now, some critics say the poem is too simple, too sentimental, too neat. But simplicity isn't a flaw when it's intentional. A lifeboat isn't criticized for lacking luxury, it's praised for floating. This poem wasn't written for the classroom. It was written for moments when people are barely breathing. And in those moments, simple truth often carries more weight than eloquence. So let's be honest. There are seasons when this poem feels untrue, when you don't feel carried, when you feel forgotten, when faith feels thin. The poem doesn't demand that you feel comforted by it. It offers comfort when you're ready. And sometimes, believing that you were carried begins as hope, not a certainty. Sometimes faith starts with, I don't feel it, but I want to believe it. And that may be enough. Let me give you something to think about. What if this poem isn't just about looking back, but about moving forward? What if it invites us to become carriers for others, to notice when someone is walking with only one set of footprints, and to help shoulder the weight? Sometimes we are the way that someone experiences being carried. Maybe a text message or a meal, maybe just a quiet presence. Think about it as moving forward too. The poem doesn't just describe God's love. It quietly challenges us to reflect it. Not reflect on it, but to reflect it. Maybe today you feel like you're walking with two sets of footprints. Or maybe you feel like you're barely moving at all. Wherever you are, Footprints in the Sand offers a gentle reminder. You are seen. You are not forgotten. And even when the path feels lonely, love may be closer than you think.
I'm so bored.
Honey, let's play Random Road Trip.
There's nothing to do.
Let's play Random Road Trip.
Hey, I know. Let's play Random Road Trip.
Great idea, honey.
Go to www.randomroadtripthegame.com to learn how you can create a lifetime of memories while spending quality time with the people that you care about. And all for just $20.
Hey, I just had a great idea. The holidays are right around the corner. We should give Random Road Trip games as gifts this year.
Or we should give Random Road Trip games as gifts this year.
I don't know how you come up with these great ideas. What was the website again?
It's www.randomroadtripthegame.com.
Welcome to fun.
All right, so when I outlined the show for today, some of you may have wondered, who's this Paul Harvey guy? Well, he's someone who influenced my life, but simply, he's a once-in-a-generation radio broadcaster. Paul Harvey had a storytelling radio program that was heard every day on radio stations all over the world. I remember listening to him as a teenager. He had an amazing career. It spanned more than 70 years. That's a lifetime. And his shows, he had two shows, one called News and Comment, and the other was called The Rest of the Story. Those shows made him a very familiar voice over our radios. Keep in mind, this was before the internet and social media, before cell phones, but he was a delightful history teacher. He had one of those velvety voices, and he was able to turn the news into a form of entertainment. And he did it every week, week after week after week. His piece that I'm going to recite for you is called The Policeman, and it has been called one of his best. And truthfully, it couldn't be more timely. As a former policeman myself, I appreciate his words very much. Before I begin, here's a disclaimer. Please don't be offended, but he refers to the police as men in this piece. But of course, the meaning is gender neutral and also applies to all law enforcement, not just the police. Here are the words of Paul Harvey. A policeman is a composite of what all men are, mingling of saint and sinner, dust and deity. What that really means is that they are exceptional. They are unusual. They are not commonplace. Buried under the froth is the fact. And the fact is, less than 0.5% of policemen misfit the uniform. And that is a better average than you would find among clergymen. What is a policeman? He, of all men, is at once the most needed and the most wanted. A strangely nameless creature who is sir to his face and pig or worse to his back. He must be such a diplomat that he can settle differences between individuals so that each will think he won. But if the policeman is neat, he is conceited. If he's careless, he's a bum. If he's pleasant, he's a flirt. If he's not, he's a grouch. He must make instant decisions, which would require months for a lawyer. But if he hurries, he's careless. If he's deliberate, he's lazy. He must be first to an accident, infallible with a diagnosis. He must be able to start breathing, stop bleeding, tie splints, and above all, be sure the victim goes home without a limp. The police officer must know every gun, draw on the run, and hit where it doesn't hurt. He must be able to whip two men twice his size and half his age without damaging his uniform and without being brutal. If you hit him, he's a coward. If he hits you, he's a bully. The policeman, from a single human hair, must be able to describe the crime, the weapon, the criminal, and tell you where the criminal is hiding. But if he catches the criminal, he's lucky. If he doesn't, he's a dunce. He runs files and writes reports until his eyes ache to build a case against some felon who will get dealed out by a shameless shamus. The policeman must be a minister, a social worker, a diplomat, a tough guy, and a gentleman. And of course, he'll have to be a genius, for he will have to feed a family on a policeman's salary. Paul Harvey was a legend. If you're interested, he can still be heard on podcasts and syndicated radio. So if you do a little research, you'll find him. All right, moving on. This last segment is maybe more special to me than most. A few years ago, I was inspired to write. Just write. And then that writing turned into what I thought was going to be a poem. But you know what? Isn't that what most songs are? The lyrics, anyway. Words rhyme. There's a pattern in the lines. So as I'm writing, one thing led to another, and God had heavy influence for sure. And the result was what turned out to be the Blue Halo podcast theme song. It's called The Reason. And the original title for it is called I Know There's a Reason. Folks, I'm going to play the song all the way through and then provide a little background for you. This song was an inspiration from God. I truly mean that. And something tells me, I don't know, that someone somewhere can take it to the next level and record it for the masses. But for now, I'm using it for this podcast. But I don't feel I own it. It's for all of us. And here's something fun. My pie-in-the-sky dream is to someday have it recorded by several artists. Like the song We Are the World. Do you remember that one? Or Do They Know It's Christmas? I picture a bunch of country stars coming together for a common cause, raising money, maybe to fight human trafficking or some other great cause. Wouldn't that be great? Anyone can use this song for free. Maybe one of you will be touched by it. That would be so great. Maybe you feel it would be a good fit for your church. That would be great too. Send me an email. Or if you're a big-time music producer, hey, let's go big. So I'm going to play the song that's currently on YouTube right now under the title The Reason by Jeff Wamboldt. And then I will give an explanation. So here it is, The Reason. Music and voice by Toby Wilson.
I know there's a reason for the heavens and the earth. I know there's a reason for the created births. I know there's a reason for turning dust into flesh. I know there's a reason for your life-giving breath. When I close my eyes, I hear your voice whispering, and I rejoice. The melody playing in my ear tells me what I long to hear. What is the reason? The reason. What is the reason? I know there's a reason to free the isolated. I know there's a reason to clothe all the naked. I know there's a reason starving children. I know there's a reason to end all suffering. When I close my eyes, I hear your voice whispering, and I rejoice. The melody playing in my ear tells me what I long to hear. The reason. What is the reason? The reason. What
So there it is, The Reason. It's our theme music. This song takes us from the beginning of creation through human struggles to our connection with Jesus, and then finally ends with the answer to the question of what is the reason? What is the reason God did all of this for us? And the answer is love. So I hope you enjoyed the song. And if anyone is interested in using it, like I said, at church or to record, you can make whatever changes you want. That would be great. Please send me an email at bluehalopodcast@gmail.com. bluehalopodcast@gmail.com. I'm telling you this story because we all have this inspiration that comes from God. We just need to recognize it and then, of course, act on it. Thanks for listening today, folks. I appreciate you more than you know. Talk to you soon. God bless.
Your love's the reason. That's the reason. Love is the reason.